man, the human creature, is bound by this primordial mithaq, this covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we shall and must remember. So we can say that our Islam, our submission to Allah, is part of our fitrah because it predates our birth. It's the meaning of the fitrah. However, it is also part of our innate temper that we forget. We're not just rememberers, we are also forgetters. Ibn Abbas used to say, إِنَّمَا سُمِّيَ الْإِنسَانُ إِنسَانًا لِأَنَّهُ عُهِدَ إِلَيْهِ فَنَسِي. Man is only called insan because he was entrusted with a pledge and then forgot. One of the derivations of the word insan, which means man, and this is inclusive of women, the human being, if you like, is that it is related to the Arabic word nisyan, which means forgetfulness, and that defines our nature, if you like, as human beings. The animals really can't forget because they don't remember as we do. They just follow their fitrah and their ghariza, their instincts and their temperament. The angels certainly can't forget, but human beings can forget. So for Ibn Abbas, that's the meaning of the name of our species. We're the forgetters. Homo, whatever the word would be in Latin. Now, the product of this process of education is the rememberer, the dhakir, and the dhakir is also the mudhakkir, because it is not enough to remember. So tremendous is the knowledge that is being remembered that we must convey it to others. And this is part of the sunnah as well, because we follow him not just in what he called us to, but in the process of calling as well. Da'wah is part of the sunnah. Every Muslim must be a da'iyah. So the Khalifa is the one who upholds justice in the most profound sense of, through his education, knowing his place in the universe, knowing what are the bounds of correct human behavior for men and for women, so that the entire cosmic balance will not be disrupted, so that man can develop his true status as abd, as slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this khilafah is not just in social relations, but exists within the self. And the khilafah exists in a sense to the self as well, because the Khalifa, the divinely authorized ruler, does not just rule in the world and rule society, but it also refers to our ruling of ourselves as human composites on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has an inward or a personal as well as a public dimension. I have a quote here from the modern Malaysian theologian Sayyid Naqib al-Attas. He says, I think quite beautifully, the concept of justice in Islam does not only refer to relational situations of harmony and equilibrium existing between one person and another, or between the society and the state, or between the ruler and his subjects. That's a contemporary Muslim activist's definition, perhaps. But he says, no, the true concept of justice in Islam, in other words, the man of Khilafah, far more profoundly and fundamentally, it refers in a primary way to the harmonious and right balanced relationship existing between man and his self. That's the true nature of Khilafah. And the Khalifa can only put everything in its proper place in the world which he governs if he or she is putting everything within him or herself in the proper place. Nowadays we tend to invert that, probably because of secular influences, Marxism in particular, and most of the secular liberationisms of the last 150 years have said that the alienations within the human soul, our sense of stress, of alienation from each other, from our true selves, come about because of alienations in society. And if you put right the ills that are in society, the human soul will be healed. That's a total inversion of the traditional religious understanding, which is the other way around. لا يغير الله ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in their selves, or in their nafs, their anfus. So the creation of Khilafah in the world begins with the creation of Khilafah in the soul. When we are ourselves harmonious, prophetically guided, Adamic individuals, then inevitably Allah will bring about a harmonization of the world around us. Never the other way around. So we could say that in Islam, very radically from a modern secular perspective, and certainly from the point of view of modern philosophers of education, there is no social contract. I don't really believe in a social contract and Thomas Paine and the rights of man and Bentham and utilitarian ideas of society and the meaning of citizenship. We don't believe that that works terribly well, and we don't believe that it's theologically valid. We have only one contract. The contract is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our duties are to Him. There are huquq al-ibad and there is huquq Allah. But the huquq al-ibad are very contingent and only have meaning, real value and content, because of the much more significant responsibility that we have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another major difference between Islamic education and modern Western education. We aren't really educating citizens, we are educating ibad. Good family relations, good relations between neighbors, harmonious relations between the races and the sexes and nations come about once that fundamental relationship is established. That's the basis for everything else. And if you don't have that relationship, nothing else is going to work. The environment, another case in point. It is only when we are at peace with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can be at peace with the environment. Otherwise, we will always view it rapaciously. And the modern environmentalist programs are always doomed to failure because they have no real sense of who made the environment, what it's for, what our place in it might be. Best we can do is to treat other orders of creation as sort of pets or oddities. But we can never respect them truly as other levels of Allah's creation, each one of which knows its salat and its tasbih, unless we know where it's all from. Now,